Hello, we're gonna start now with the if formula. So if formula is probably the most often used in Excel, and it's quite simple if you think about it, but it is probably the most often used. Why? Because the if formula checks whether a condition is met and then returns one value if it's true and another value if it's false. As all formulas in Excel, if formulas have some parameters, some of them mandatory, some of them are optional. Here in this instance, we have only one mandatory parameter, that is the logical test. So basically, the thing that we check if it's true or false. So is A equal to B, is 1 equal to 2, and so on and so forth. And then we have two parameters that we can set. What will be the result that the formula will give us when the logical test will be true, and what will be the result if it's false. And now let's here see some examples. Let's zoom this in, and now let's start with something very simple. So normally I would type like equal sign and then if, and then go with the parentheses and so on. But actually, if you want to have the simplest if formula, you don't have to go with the if even. I'm gonna go with 1 equals 1. That's true. So as you can see, this is already an if formula in action. Now 1 equals 1, that's obviously true. If I'm gonna change that to 1 equals true, that's obviously false. So that's the easiest way of telling if something is true or false. And you don't have to put it exactly in the formula bar here. You can also simply use another cells for that. So let's say I'm gonna have a 3 here, and I'm gonna have a 2 here, and I have a 1 here. So now I'm gonna write equal sign and D2 equals to 2 plus 1. Let's see, that's obviously also true. Now, let's go with something fancy. So we want to go with the if formula, and then I can hit tab. That completes the formula, opens the parentheses for me, and now the logical test. And again, we're gonna compare, okay, 1 equals 1, but then I'm gonna say, okay, if it's true, what is the result that this cell should produce? So we're gonna say correct. Otherwise, so if it's false, it's gonna be incorrect. And I put these in double quotes because they are texts. There's actually a small typo I've made. Excel will do the correction for me. I hit yes, and we're good. And this is correct. Now, why do I do the double quotes? This is the text. If I would do it without it, Excel would expect that this is some kind of a field I have somewhere here, maybe a table, something like that. That wouldn't really give me anything. You can see the hash name error because what is it referring to, right? So this is obviously not how we should do it. So we put it back into the double quotes. Okay, so now instead of 1 equals 1, let's do the some text. So let's see A, and let's go with B here. And now let's, here in the logical test, we say, okay, is this equal to this? No, it's not. It's incorrect. Now, if I'm gonna change it to A, it's gonna be correct. And now the tricky bit. So what will happen if I'll change that to a capital A? So like this. It's still correct. In Excel mind, it is still the same letter. So you have to remember that if you compare two letters, yeah, so let's say A, B, maybe looks like this, and here we're gonna go A, B. If you would ask a human being, are these the same? It would probably say not really, but for Excel, they are the same. Now, final bit, what I want to show you, and final trick is the space. So you can see, okay, A, B, we ignore if it's a capital letter or not. Now let's add a space here. So I added a space, and now it's incorrect. Why? Because space is also a character. So these two fields are not equal to each other, which the if formula spots for us. And finally, you can now think, okay, so we can maybe delete this. Now both cells are empty, so they are equal to each other. But what will happen if in D2 I'll put only a space? You can see now this is incorrect. Why? Because we have a space here, we have nothing here. So despite the fact that you can't see a thing, those two cells are not the same. And this is what the if formula helps us with. So the if formula helps us with comparing two values. You can see that we can either type them directly in the formula bar, we can type them in other cells and use them. We can even use other formulas and compare them to each other. So let's say here, let's delete everything, and here I'm gonna say, okay, 3 and 2, and here I'm gonna go the simplified version of if. So 3 equals not d3, d4. That's false, obviously. And now here I'm gonna say 1, and here I'm also gonna say 1. So I'm gonna here go. This equals e4. This is also false. And now look, we compare those two values. This is false, and now this is incorrect. Why? Because obviously we have a false, we have a true. If we compare them, they are not correct, and we are not using, let's say, the values that we've typed in D or E cells. They are simply incorrect because they are the results that those cells produced. Okay, I hope that was helpful. This is how the if formula works. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and see you all in the next video.